This collection is a heartfelt reaction from artists in and around Belarus, inspired by the shocking events taking place in that country since the presidential election on August the 9th, 2020.
Belarus has seen intense and sustained public protests against Alexander Lukashenko's landslide win that day, a victory widely viewed as rigged.
This protest art shines a light on the soul of a nation and their brave struggle to release themselves from a brutal regime. The last time Belarus had free and fair elections was in 1994. After 26 years of Lukashenko's rule, the Belarusian people have risen up against the corruption from a president they did not choose.
They have taken to the streets of cities countrywide, often in their hundreds of thousands, facing the threat of physical violence, arrest, loss of their jobs, and even loss of life in passionate, peacefully conducted street demonstrations.
The backlash from Belarusian authorities has been violent, sustained, and indiscriminate. There has been widespread use of batons, tear gas, stun grenades, rubber bullets, and water cannons, and those arrested have suffered further brutality while detained. Yet the protests have continued unabated, with huge numbers of people, remarkably without any vertical hierarchy.
Prior to the election, the government began enforcing internet blackouts, so the people of Belarus have come together via the messaging app Telegram. Here lies the incredible strength of these fearless people, organising a leaderless and peaceful resistance which is seemingly unstoppable.
Following the violent crackdown on protesters during the first 2 nights after Election Day, thousands of women spontaneously self-organised weekly marches against the violence. As the images of extreme brutal force used by the police against the peaceful protesters was made public worldwide, Belarusian women took to the streets to face the masked and heavily armed riot police responsible for those crimes.
Wearing white, carrying flowers and holding hands, the women chant messages of peace, calling for an end to the brutality, for free and fair elections, and for the release of detainees.
The white and red flag has been banned by authorities since 1995, and public display of the flag has led to many arrests and fines. It is a symbol of peace, solidarity and hope, and has flooded these protests with a sea of white and red.
The Belarus judicial system is tightly controlled by Lukashenko, leaving those detained without legal representation. There has been widespread suppression of lawyers, doctors and teachers. State workers and university students have been threatened with dismissal if they support the protests.
In recent months, only state-approved media are allowed to act as journalists in Belarus. There have been numerous independent journalists arrested, and many remain detained months later, while others have been exiled.
The majority of world leaders have expressed their outrage, introducing sanctions against Belarusian officials who they accuse of vote fraud and unlawful clampdown on demonstrations.
There has been official condemnation of the arbitrary detainment and torture of thousands of protesters across Belarus following the election, and the actions are viewed as crimes against humanity. There are calls for an unbiased worldwide investigation into the systematic and extremely violent oppression of the peaceful protests in Belarus.
Hundreds are still detained weekly, and dispersals continue to be brutal. Social and independent media channels have captured shocking footage of the continuing violence, which corroborates many protesters' claims. The government states that only a handful of people have died at the hands of the security forces, but these figures are believed to be false and true numbers much higher.
There have been no official inquiries into any deaths. As of mid-November 2020, over 25,000 people have been detained and untold numbers injured.
For personal accounts about this situation, please visit Voices from Belarus on Instagram.
Their stories will shock you, but their collective bravery and fierce belief in a better future for Belarus will also inspire and uplift you.